Evening, family and fellow truth tellers. I just wanted to go over a couple things. I'm gonna break down a little bit of a couple videos. First from Coop, second from Sabrina Sabs. We're gonna get into what's going on with the 3pstien driver and
shout out to Coop,
the mother that's been taken. So walk with me. It's gonna get interesting. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm just going to check out a little bit.
Like and subscribe. Now let's dive. This is the thread that was posted by a man claiming to be Epstein's personal driver who conducted a lot of the disgusting and discreet operations on behalf of Epstein and his clients. This was posted almost 6 years ago now. However, with the more recent drops, including the most recent one, so much information has come out and is proving what this guy claims happened to be true. So I decided we go over it again. Now let's begin. OP, or original poster, entitles this anonymous thread Storytime with a Man. And it's important to note this is all anonymous. We have no idea who this man was. Although based on his claims, we have good reason to believe he was telling the truth. This post was made on 7/1/2020, which was Wednesday at 6:05 p.m. and became at the time one of the most popping threads on the entire platform. It begins with him saying the following: I'm going to tomorrow, X. I'm also sending 3 packets of copied information to the media. 1 to CNN, 1 to MSNBC, and 1 to Fox News. You'll all have to see which one tells the truth about the information they receive and who doesn't. I trust 4chan to do this because of our history of releasing legit info in the face of mass media cover-up. I've been a professional driver / security guard for a circle of very wealthy people for almost 8 years. I started by working the door at a private gentleman's club outside the DC area. From that job, I was introduced to some employment managers for Jeffrey Epstein because I had experience as both a cab driver and a bouncer, as well as always we're looking at keeping my mouth shut about the drugs and prostitution my employers at the club profited from. They thought I'd be a good fit to work the weekends for Mr. Epstein. At first I didn't do very much, definitely nothing important. I run errands mostly and do anything my manager, parentheses, who reported directly to Mr. Epstein, wanted me to do. So say the gardener calls out sick one day, it would be me mowing the lawn in his place. I was sort of a floating general helper. Inevitably I ran into Mr. Epstein now and then. He was always very personable, enthusiastic. I heard about his original court case and the rumors and everything, but just meeting this guy made me feel like it was all a lie because he seemed so kind and genuine. I thought he was really just this hot
Okay, so first, you see how he sent out 3 things to CNN, NBC, and Fox. Haven't heard anything from them, so who knows? This was in 2019, but again, the timing is interesting, and
money man, like a Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark kind of figure, and I think ultimately that's how he wanted all of us to see him. His God complex was, to say the least, very developed. Right off the bat, the first thing this driver mentions that's critical is he worked at clubs in DC, and it's no surprise that has become one of the main places of a lot of the degeneracy with the recent file drops, considering how many politicians are involved in this. Admittedly, for now, this is sort of a looser connection, but it only gets more and more direct as we continue. The people replying to the driver on this thread began getting very curious to see if he knew more, and a lot of people started chiming in and asking him questions, and so OP continued. Eventually, I was trusted with bigger jobs. I think I got a good reputation because I cleaned up one of Mr. Epstein's bedrooms one day. There was, to my dismay, a mixture of poop and semen on the bed sheets. I dealt with it professionally, and I didn't say anything. I knew by then that someone is always watching. There are cameras in almost every single room, save Mr. Epstein's private office and regular bedroom. Parentheses, he had several bedrooms, but one was his quote favorite, I guess, his main room. I never mentioned it to anyone, but I still got a thank you from my manager to go pick up a masseuse from a bus station. I didn't ask her then 16. I got a really bad feeling in my stomach because at this point denying Mr. Epstein's tastes would be borderline irrational. I did my job, though I took her to his house and a few hours later took her back to the bus stop. She was crying. I didn't talk to her about it. A few weeks later, I did it again. Now my manager tells me that Mr. Epstein would like me to take over all of his various pickups and drop-offs. They called it, quote, cutie duty. Parentheses, effing barf. But it was more than just girls. I would pick up drugs and other sort of packages, most of which I had no idea the contents, but as far as I was concerned, the less I knew the better. I was getting paid very well for the amount of work I was doing. A given day, I spent 3, maybe 4 hours doing anything that could be considered work. The rest of the time, I had to sign my card browsing 4chan on my phone, or inside pretending like I was rich and this was my house. For this, I was being paid $75K a year, more than I'd ever even hoped to have made in my whole life. When I took over doing most of the driving, it went up to 115. Every time my job became more illegal, the money would get better. That's his tactic. He knows that people will do just about anything for the right price. So far, everything is on point, especially with the most recent updates and references to torture.
alright, so again, picking up drugs, girls, and driving them to Epstein's place, and whoever's there is doing who knows what. And take note that it was kind of an entrapment thing, kind of seeing what he's comfortable and capable of. He does this with every single person that's around him. We'll go to Lisa Phillips and others will tell you the same thing. It's a very, very targeted and intentional, insidious plot of corruption. He was a corruption artist, is really what he was. And kept on dragging people deeper with deeper deeds and more money. And extremely insidious. But we're going to jump ahead a little bit.
People asking him why he's now coming out with all this. OP says the following: I just want people to know, I guess, probably a public confession because I'm guilty. I guess I don't care that much because I don't think they can't forgive myself for it. I think they'll have me anyway. I'm going to do it on my own terms. At this point, I'm going to queue up a video posted by a YouTuber who just a few days ago posted a video about Epstein's Island and visiting it, and now he has people in black veins outside his house. So apparently they will come after you have to do. And he tries to find the absolute least amount he can pay to keep you doing it. For me, disgracefully, that was around $150K. I stayed on cutie duty for about 4 months, then Mr. Epstein took a trip abroad and he loaned me out to another family, the Romneys. Now, keep in mind, I never met Ms. Romney, and I don't think I even worked for him. I just worked for the family. I reported to an employment manager as usual. I was tasked with driving a young man named Cole around wherever he wanted. Cole was probably 22 and already had his license suspended for drunk driving. He lived in a huge house out in the middle of nowhere outside Boulder, Colorado. A man do that and basically tell us that this sort of stuff does happen. Continuing, I worked on that island for about a year. In 2013 to 2014, Mr. Epstein chose me and 2 other trusted employees from the island to come with him to winter retreat in his house. He owned a small, quote, billionaire small, mind you, cabin, again, mansion, and wanted people he knew to be trusted because most of the staff would be local hire. Our job on the surface was to help manage all the employees, supervisors basically, but the unspoken task was keeping everyone either in the dark or quiet. Mr. Epstein had a real fondness for plump, young Swiss blondes. And the Swiss, as he would explain, have a very, quote, progressive idea of the age of consent. He viewed this as a more relaxed way to do what he does, more casual. Part of the thrill for these people, I think, is the fact that it is illegal and they could get in big trouble. When they go to places that are more friendly with the idea of an old man having sex with a 15-year-old, it's to take a break, so to speak. The ops themselves, wow, I mean, wow. I've been all over the United States, and nothing in the country compares to Europe in terms of sheer beauty. Sometimes early in the morning when I come out of my cabin stretch, looking at the trees, smelling the crisp, clean air, just for a minute, I'd forget what I've done and what I'm doing. When it came back to me, I'd have to fight back tears. I want the mountains every left.
Okay, so another place where there are people in Europe, the Netherlands, and again, notice how he has the corrupted people posting up and organizing meetings with people outside, hoping don't really know what's going on. This was the key 20%. I believe that's a tactic that's heavy in the circles, or open. No what's left, no black, those kind of things. So, it's prevalent to
Follows. So I've not been there 3 days. While me and the 2pstien Island are doing bumps of coke off a butter knife in the lower garage, a boy, maybe 14, blonde, pale, naked, comes through the doorway towards us. He's speaking French, but I think I got the gist of what he was saying. He's asking for help. He looked hysterical. Immediately, my 2 friends and folks were out of there, and I shouldn't have been far behind. I told him, calm down, it's okay. I'm gonna help you. I just wanted him to feel better. This also took me 30 seconds before when the nannies came in. He looked at her confused, and I got the picture he was trying to decide if she could be trusted. She couldn't. She shushed him and put her jacket over him into his hand. She was speaking French as well, and it sounded like a mother consoling a frightened child. She let him back into the house. I did not see him again. I never mentioned it to anyone, and nobody ever mentioned it to me. During the last couple weeks there, I witnessed firsthand the independent journalist. I don't think he was actually a journalist. I think he may have had a blog or YouTube channel. But I had never heard of him and don't know his name, so I don't think he was anyone with real connections. He was one of the local hires, a dishwasher, but he was seen with a cell phone out, possibly recording. Me and the other 2 Island were asked to go and check it out. So we go to the guy, so we go get the guy and ask him to get out of pocket, turn off, he got a phone. We told him to unlock it, he wouldn't. One of the other guys made a call, came back and slugged him directly in the nose. I think he broke it because there was blood just pouring out, and the guy started screaming. I don't think he'd ever been hit before. Let me and the other guy who was not sure I'll say the names. It was Daniel from South Florida and Marcus from Nevada. Marcus and I were holding down, and Dan punched him, then his uncle unlocked his phone. He applied this time. Turned out there were pictures and videos from inside the house. We didn't get into anything else because only wired connections worked there. I guess they had single chambers or something, or maybe just because it was remote. I don't know. Anyways, Indy's other call and told us to take him outside into the woods. I think we're just gonna friend him and make sign an NDA. But Daniel took his balls off and strangled him to death. We had to put his body up in an outbuilding because the ground was frozen. We put him through a river and then burned everything to ash. There were bits of charcoal left over, and I swept it all into a trash bag and threw it out with the regular garbage. This, above everything else, I feel the most guilty for. After that, if I wasn't quote in before, I definitely was in now. Me, Marcus, and Daniel, the 3 freaking students from hell. Daniel had been in the military, and I think he had a few screws loose because he always had a temper. He became the go-to guy for the really dirty stuff. I started working for Mr. Evans directly after this. He would confide in me sometimes when he was very high about how nothing really makes him feel good enough. He told me once that he hasn't felt happy in years. I wish I had someone to tell him that the life he was living in the town. For a brief moment, I felt lucky for this man. I think that too was part of his game, though. I don't think he's ever had a single genuine feeling in his life outside of sexual gratitude. He never mentioned the journalist to me, but it was like it never happened. But we both knew that this was the reason I was now working directly for him. Almost there.
Wow. Okay, so this is crazy. So again, he didn't pull him into a certain thing. He had a body, and got him into that. And for all we know, the Daniel guy who did the strangling was told to do that while he was there to intentionally entrap him and assist with the deletions. It's very serious and things that the public must look into. I'm very, very happy that the public is not letting us go. Never should. This is an investigation for us. We're going to solve it and feel good about the outcome because it involves too many powerful people that are too scared of consequences. We can't be a nation or a city or a country or anything that has children getting violated and killed. You don't have a future. Literally, it's just common sense. You can't allow this. So I'm gonna keep going. There's some more stuff I want to get to.
That a little bit though. As far as I can tell, those last messages I read are the final ones from OP. He seems to have never returned, either going through with what he said he would, or just disappearing, or being disappeared. In any of those cases, though, what we do know, and this is the first strength about the story, is that OP way back when said that he had mailed 3 packets of information, one to each of the main mainstream slop media sources, and he said, we'll see which one tells you the truth. Now, as far as I'm aware, nothing ever really came out in terms of a story and what he knew. But what's really bizarre is that within hours of this story going live on 4chan, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, which many have come to the conclusion was that somebody on these mainstream news sources actually did receive a packet of information from this guy and got in contact with the right people of the government to arrest Maxwell. Honestly, I don't know what else it could be. The fact that this guy claims to have intimate knowledge about Maxwell and Epstein and their operation, and then decides to go public and post it all, and within hours of him doing so, only 2 main perpetrators in this whole child thing gets arrested is unprecedented. The likelihood of that happening is 0 or next to it. So I'm not really sure anyone can really argue their way around that. Furthermore, so much of what he claims happened, like the possible consuming of people, the rituals, the occultism, the scale of the ring, specific people involved. You take your celebrities, Rihanna, Jay-Z, take your public figures, Mitt Romney, Roger Stone, all the people mentioned, and the fact that for all intents and purposes, we already know these people to be involved. Many of these guesses with Rihanna would have been an impressive guess 2 weeks ago. So the fact that he was saying these things over 60 years ago is insane.
Okay. I'm glad that went through that. So you see that when he dropped that, when he was arrested, almost like containment. Again, important. Romney is very involved with Epstein, financial ties to Maxwell funding his business early on. But I'm telling you, the fact that Glenn was arrested in this drop is not an accident. I'll show you. Let's gonna keep going. Okay, so the last person was Coop. This is Sabrina Sabs. Go check out her channel. I'm just gonna break down a couple things real quick that she brought up that are good points that I wanted to show y'all. Here we go.
May have realized, because I looked into who her family is, who they work for, and there's just a lot of coincidences, and I'm starting to wonder if this is more of a test or threats.
This is about.
Let's go ahead and get into it. It was announced just the other day that her mother disappeared. Listen to this.
84 years of age, 5 million pounds, blue. Things after 21 hours. So this yesterday.
So what you're hearing there, that's the newly uncovered audio of what a dispatcher said when the call went out that Nancy Guthrie was missing on February 1st. We hear that dispatcher mentioned that Nancy Guthrie has a pacemaker, she has high blood pressure, and she has cardiac issues. Remember, the sheriff of Pima County said she's incredibly sharp mentally, but physically she has some limitations where she wouldn't be able to walk 50 yards on her own. Now the pacemaker, that also is a very key part of this story because it's helping put the timeline together of when Nancy may have been taken from her home. Now, as a reminder, the sheriff said that Nancy was taken against her will in the middle of the night. They say when they walked into her house, they realized what they were dealing with was a crime scene and that she did not leave that home willingly, that someone must have come in there and taken her from that home. Now, Fox News Digital says that the pacemaker that Nancy Guthrie has, that is synced to her Apple Watch, and the watch was still on the charger near her bed when deputies arrived at her home the next day. They also say they have her cell phone, which was found at her house. And that pacemaker, according to this Fox News Digital report, synced to her watch last at around 2 o'clock in the morning Sunday. So,
Somebody took her. The question is who and why? I would imagine someone who wants to get back at Savannah, or possibly Savannah's husband, some people who are higher up, to go after family members instead of going after the person that they have issue with. When I get into this a little bit more about Savannah and who she is, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's go on a little bit more here.
here's mine that anyone had seen Nancy Guthrie. And it brings us back to Saturday night. Law enforcement said it was between 9:30 and 9:45 in the evening that Savannah Guthrie's older sister, Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie, dropped Nancy off at her house after they had dinner. Now, Nancy lives alone in this home north of Tucson, Arizona. Now, we don't know much about what happened next. Deputies were called at 12:15 in the afternoon on Sunday after Nancy didn't show up for church. She is very much a devout churchgoer. So when she was a no-show Sunday morning, that was a major cause for concern. The sheriff says that Nancy's family was first notified that she was missing around 11 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
We do believe that Nancy was taken from her home against her will, and that's where we're at.
Okay, so let's skip a bucket here for just a second. Usually, the last person who saw you is considered a person of interest. So the family member that took her home and dropped her off is probably at this point a person of interest. Last I checked, they have not labeled them as a suspect just yet, but usually that's kind of how these things go. Doesn't mean that they actually did it, who knows, but it makes me wonder if someone was waiting. If it wasn't that person, if it was someone who was waiting, someone who knew what time she was getting home. I mean, when you look at the property, it looks kind of rural. So you would think if there was someone out there watching, you would be able to see them. You never know though, right? It's the desert, it's at night.
They received this note Tuesday morning, and the note reportedly demanded a specific and substantial amount of Bitcoin. Millions of dollars of Bitcoin be sent to a specific Bitcoin address. TMZ says they were able to verify that the Bitcoin address was real, and they also say that the note gives a deadline for the money to be sent and what TMZ calls an element of or else. So the sheriff's office posted this on social media in response to the amount of talk about these ransom notes, these alleged ransom notes that were being sent out to the media outlets.
So again, the property here, so you guys can see, because if you're wondering where someone could have hidden, just so you can see the property. But yeah, apparently there are ransom notes that are asking for money, and those notes did have a deadline. Now, I have to show you the weird connection, because this is wild, and I've seen some things. Guess whose name? Come here, Epstein Files. Savannah Guthrie. Now, of course, she's not accused of doing anything or being on the island or anything like that, but you guys need to see this. Let me bring this up here. September 18th, 2019.
Okay, now this part is very important. Again, remember, the driver gave his information to 3 major media companies or channels, whatever you want to call it. So that happened when Ghislaine got arrested, right? And now the Epstein file dropped, and now this.
September 18th, 2019. Just wanted to give you a heads up. She's done another interview with Savannah Guthrie. It's right here. In it, she said the following. She was interviewed by the FBI in 2011 by a blank. In the interview, she gave the names of all the girls she helped to traffic. 2, she was also interviewed by SDNY, no time frame. 3, 2 other women also tell DOJ that Epstein specifically trafficked them to other men. And 4, there are cameras in the New York City house and others where he could watch people in bathrooms and elsewhere. We're talking about that New York City townhouse that he had. They plan to air it on today and this Friday's Dateline. Hope that's helpful. That was 2019. Savannah Guthrie apparently was going to air this story about one of the alleged Epstein victims in 2019. I found it kind of interesting that her mom just happened to be kidnapped right after this latest dump of Epstein files. I have to say for the record, this is the very first time I saw that her name was in the file. I never knew about this before. So we're just trying to put these pieces together. We don't know for sure if it's connected, but I'm just looking at the timing. It seems a little bit coincidental. And there's more.
Yeah. Okay, so again, she's going to do that interview in 2019, same year that guy was going to do the thing. And she's already talking to multiple people in the FBI and stuff. Again, you cannot trust normal agencies with this kind of stuff. This stuff you have to just go public when you have it, because the Garrett sensor is too strong. But I'm telling you this is not a coincidence. There's motion here, I'm telling you. I know, feel it in my spirit. I know there's a connection. Let's go. We're gonna expose all of these foes. Not letting pedophiles scare us. They need to be scared. They need to be scared of us.
When you look into her family, in particular her husband, Savannah Guthrie's husband was Michael Feldman. Guess who he worked for? Let's pull this up here. Michael Feldman was a consultant. Peep this, fam. He worked for American Public Relations. He was a communication consultant and a former Democratic political advisor. Feldman was Vice President Al Gore's traveling chief of staff during the 2000 presidential campaign. He is the founding partner and managing director of the Glover Park Group. It's a communications, consulting, and advocacy firm. They have also been known to scrub information, FYI, that company. Now, fast forward, Feldman joined Bill Clinton's campaign staff in 1992. Following the election, Feldman served in the Clinton administration as vice president of Al Gore's deputy director of legislative affairs from 1993 to 1997. In 1997, Feldman became senior advisor and traveling chief of staff to the vice president, a role he held until 2001. In November, he played a key role in Gore's decision to contest the results at that time. We have to be careful we say here because YouTube gets sticky about that. Feldman formed the Glover Park Group with Gore campaign advisors Carter Eskew and Chip Smith and former White House press secretary Joe Lockhart. So, we're looking at this one a little bit more. Watch this. In an interview with lawyers Ben Chu and Camille Vasquez, in regard to the Depp versus Heard defamation trial, Feldman's wife Savannah Guthrie revealed that Feldman had worked as a public relations consultant for the legal team who represented Johnny Depp. Remember that trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Now, we got a part 3, okay? So let's put these pieces together. For the first time, find out that Savannah Guthrie's name was in the Epstein files because she was set to bring that information forward about one of those alleged victims.
Yeah. Before one of those victims. He works at one of the places that the guy said he was going to send the thing to. Remember? And Epstein, in the Epstein file, is the 4chan. The driver chat, it's in the Epstein file. So they know that Epstein knew at the time when that happened.
2, we know that her mom was just recently kidnapped. Just not too long after that last dump of vibes. 3, now we know that Savannah's husband worked for the Clinton administration. He was also involved with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. 4, just a couple of days ago, Bill and Hillary Clinton, right after this latest dump of Epstein files, said they would testify in front of Congress. After they said that they would not, just a couple weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, now that these files have been released, now all of a sudden Bill and Hillary want to come testify. And it just so happened that Savannah Guthrie's mom, someone kidnapped this woman, and this woman just happened to have a member in her family that worked for the Clinton administration. And Savannah's in the Epstein files. It's almost as if someone's trying to send a message to Savannah. I don't know if they're trying to scare her, I don't know what they're trying to do, but they want money. And a lot of times with these situations, sometimes you gotta look close to home. More people are saying it's probably an inside job. It's probably a family member that's demanding the money, who could have paid someone to take the mother so that they're not seen doing it, and then demanding money. That's what a lot of people are pointing towards. Or
I think that somebody inside could be helping, but I'm telling you, I think they're leaning on somebody. They're leaning on a family member to threaten the evidence. That's what this is really about. They're trying to send it to TMZ. That's why everything's so weird. That's why the police are acting weird. This is another blackmail shakedown for the truth not to get out. But we're not going to allow that.
it could be that this order was put out from someone who's higher up, who is elite, because of these Epstein files. And here's the thing, we may never know. It's been a couple of days since Savannah's mom has been missing. We don't know if she's alive or not. But these are a lot of coincidences, and she did issue a statement, finally, Savannah. This is her with her siblings. I want you to hear what she said here.
We too have heard the reports about a ransomware in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Yeah,
However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she's alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please, reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter. We believe and know that even in this valley, He's with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
Yeah, it just like, honestly, when I first heard about the story, it sounded like a movie. It almost sounded like a movie I saw before. I was like, oh, it kind of sounded like, I like to watch thrillers sometimes. I was like, sounds like one of those movies I watched. One of those thriller movies I watched before. Just weird, don't you think that someone would just take her mom?
This is just a bad script. I'm not playing these games. It's not an accident that Hillary and Bill Clinton are testifying. I bet you that their last day of testifying is probably 5 p.m. tomorrow, like the ransom date. I don't know, man. There's weird stuff going on. People, if you know where this information is that he sent, send it out. Now's the time to snitch. This is only going to get worse. You cannot allow rampant kitty abusers and weapons sellers and chaos drivers to have way. You can't let them get away with all this evil. We also cannot rely on government. Can't rely on regular modes of handling things. You have to rely on the people. It takes a village to save a child. We can do it together, but if we rely on these institutions that were built to be corrupted, we're going to get even worse than we are now. And it's time to act, because with AI going online, AI can be 100 times worse than Jeffrey Epstein worldwide. We have to act. We have to stop this now. To all the people that see this, please spread it to anyone who wants to know the truth and is interested in the truth and good and saving people and helping kids and survivors. That's why we're here. That's why I'm doing this. And I hope Jesus blesses everybody who hears this. Know that this is a spiritual warfare that we're fighting. These are demons these guys are playing with, and the iniquity that they're doing intentionally is to bring about their kind of world, which, as you can see by the Epstein files, is hell. So I'm searching for the kingdom of heaven. Who wants to fight it with me?
Things. Romneys are very odd. Romney is an extremely wealthy man, but not really for much of his own volition. He owns somewhere in the range of 6 separate mega mansion type homes, but that's just public. Throughout the family and rumored homes, people believe he owns around 15, some of which have subterranean structures, massive ones at that. Needless to say though, if it is the Mitt Romney family, the political figure, then we have to ask some more questions, because when you look into who was one of the investors in Mitt Romney's business, it doesn't take long to figure out that Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, the Mossad agent, gave multiple millions of dollars to Mitt Romney to help jumpstart the business that he was slowly building. That's the sort of direct connection one cannot look over. And I find it particularly hilarious because there are many of those fact-checking quote-unquote services that have claimed that this is a bogus connection because Ghislaine Maxwell's dad didn't get the starting capital from Mitt Romney's business, which is true. He didn't get the starting capital, but he invested a crap load of money very early on. An example of how they split hairs to try to prove their points, but it's for us a better example of a direct connection between the Romney family mentioned by OP and the Romney family and Maxwell and Epstein. So there's something there going on that hints that OP, knowing a deeper relationship, having seen it, could actually be telling the truth. The next thing I have to get to this, and if that's true, is the body dump. Are we really going to get that actually happened? And I think matter we have to take it very seriously. Because what OP points out on those coordinates is a very real place in Colorado, and that's the sort of place I would think you just find on a map, although I suppose you could if you look for a while. It is a random dirt path with no meaningful people living around it in the middle of nowhere. And it has this whole lot that he describes, and it has some paths leading to the woods. And the only properties nearby are abandoned, or seemingly abandoned, and just huge plots of land. And it's the sort of place way out there that you would need an off-road vehicle, like the Jeep that OP describes having been there. So really, in order for us to get a full confirmation on that bit of the story, we would need some information on when exactly this happened, and some ground penetrating radar and dogs, so I think we could actually find something out there. Furthermore, Mitt Romney, along this line, does not have an official son named Cole, but there has been a long, decades-long speculation of illegitimate children, and Mitt Romney is admittedly all over the Epstein files release. Just something to keep in mind. I also decided to see if I could find anything about Epstein in Colorado, any connections there, and in 2017, there's a series of articles and absurdly long links that were sent to Epstein discussing different homes that he could buy in Colorado, one property which was only about an hour's drive from where the body dump site was located. I found that particularly interesting because one of the few houses out there, when you really start looking at it, I mean, within the general vicinity of this dump site, it is just plots of land. And I found one of them on Zillow, and like I said, the picture suggests it's an abandoned home. So there's not much else out there. And the idea that within a short drive of this body's dump site, outside of Boulder, Colorado, within the time frame that OP would have been working for him, is supremely strange to say the least to me. Furthermore, there is a very real tale in Marcus that do exist that both match the credentials given, both of whom have news reports on them for degenerate behavior, and they also seem to match the description that OP gives. And OP at one point before he stopped responding did tell another commenter that person sent to him in the article does match the memory of the guy that he has in mind. Something else I thought was unique about this 4chan thread that made it more realistic to me was, till very recently, we did not know this. This is really just thanks to the most recent Epstein files release. Epstein was a huge 4chan user and was involved in a bunch of communities and had a direct relationship and message exchanging, conversations, and hangout times with the founder of 4chan. That's strict in the files. Keeping that in mind, there's a direct attack that happens at one point in these threads where people begin posting all sorts of horrible things aimed at OP and trying to get the thread taken down by the mods of 4chan. That parallel of Epstein's connections to 4chan is really odd, because why else attack a guy if you just think he's messing around? Unless there's something really going on. And if you notice something really going on, I was very grateful when I stumbled upon a link on one of these threads that someone had Necro posted, and it was to this most recent file drop one day ago. When I clicked on that link, I was baffled that it opened up to, in the Epstein files, a screenshot of this thread, meaning that there's probably more screenshots of these threads, which sounds crazy, but that would suggest that Epstein was aware, or someone within Epstein's orbit was aware, if you actually think he did, that this thread was going on, these claims were being made about it. Now, depending on what you believe about Epstein, I'm assuming if you're here, you don't think that he actually passed away in that prison, and if you've seen other videos and has one, that essentially proves that he's still alive, at least in my opinion, in an actual same 4chan thread in Epstein's own files. What? Not to mention, there's a whole other problem with this. It came out after his alleged demise. This suggests he had some sort of knowledge of what was going on, all those sorts of things in him. If this were fake and there was nothing to it, why on earth would it have been included in the Epstein files? And who would even look for and care? It's not like this was some trending story. It was pretty much on the underground for a while, and even today, not a ton of people are aware of this 4chan thread. So why then is it in the files? That is my question overarching this whole thing. And this is nothing, and it's all made up. Why is it in the files? And honestly,
Alright, final things to say is someone in that, whoever the ransom is for, it's not for anyone, it's for someone who's in the Epstein files, one of the black gun names. That's what I'm saying. And that's who has the mother, and they've taken her, and I believe they're looking for information. So whoever has it needs to release it, because if you give it to any authorities, that's gone. So they all need to do the right thing, stand in truth. And I'm gonna end on one thing. Hold on. Okay. I wanted to read this little thing from Ephesians 4. Therefore, the prisoners of the Lord, reach you walk worthy of the calling with which you were called, with all lowliness of gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love, daring to keep the unity of the Spirit, the bond of peace. Therefore is one bond and one Spirit. Just as you were called in one hope, your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, and God of all, who is above and through all and in you all. But each of us grace was given according to the measures of Christ's grace. Therefore, he says, when ascended on high, he led captivity captive, and gives to men. Now this he ascended. What does it mean but that also first descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is also the one who ascended far above all the heavens, that he may fill all things. So never forget, you just have to go through it too. So we must go through it. But in truth, we can walk that way of life together. Please tell the truth to anybody who will listen. To an ear that will hear. We have to start this. God bless y'all.